Good evening, it's July 17th, down on the allotment again, but this time for a different reason. We're actually going to pick things. Spend a lot of time weeding, been a bit of a drought in June, driest June in 50 years. But here we are on the allotment. It's only a mile or two from the River Trent. This side of the river and the other side of the Trent here, close to where the Viking Great Army used to overwinter in their many battles with the Saxons and other indigenous populations. But look at these, we've got the dwarf beans. These are doing exceptionally well down here. Got some good crops out of these, and it doesn't seem to be something that the wood pigeons like. Looking up the reason why the dwarf peas, for instance, here haven't worked, came up with an answer, and apparently it's wood pigeons. Now I love them, I think they're really cute. I've got one at home that's virtually half tame with me, but I thought I'd need to copy what other people have done next door, etc., where you put some netting up. Got to be careful with that though, because then you don't get pollinators. But the good ideas today have been using, this year, have been using onions, and at the end there, garlic as a barrier. Turning around now, you can see I've been lifting up some onions as I go along. Stuttgarter seems to work very well. Of the apple trees that I moved in the garden mistakenly, I shouldn't have moved them when as late as I did, it was sort of like May time. This one looks okay. The others, I don't know. They've been in intensive care. Been down a lot. This is a plum tree that was live at the top, not sure now. This apple tree seems to have made it okay. There's signs of life going down the tree there, on there, some there, and the other ones are iffy. And here we have red, what are the red? Are they beans? Yeah. Beans again done well here with the red flowers. And again over there. The strawberries this year been very successful. Had some good crops out of them. Only trouble is we had an ant's nest growing in that one there. And so next time around I'll tackle the ants straight away. Also noticed on my gauges here, ants were crawling up the gauges. Now that's usually because greenfly are feeding on them. Haven't got much of a crop this year, but that's probably because they were only brand new in over winter. If I see the ants crawling up again anytime, you know you've got aphids there, and I'll give it a bit of a spray. Do something organic if I can. But at the moment, the jobs at the moment are netting what's left of our cabbages, such as these. But where we have netted, it's been fine. As you can see, probably salvageable, these cabbages here, only just though, I'd say. There. Certain things pests don't like. The gooseberries have been a massive success this year, particularly red gooseberries, the sweeter ones. Again, a great favourite with wood pigeons, so I hear. They've got quite a gourmet diet. But as long as you take your necessary precautions, that you should be alright. Very fond of these onions here. Giant onions, these Stuttgarters. They seem to really like this alluvial soil. Everywhere you go on this plot, you're reminded of the fact that the River Trent used to flow over this plot. And of course it once belonged as a great estate to chap who was the right-hand man of Richard III, Lavelle. It belonged, the property all along the riverbank here belonged to the Lavelle family. It was his mother, Frances Lavelle's mother, and Frances was Chancellor of England at the time of the reign of Richard III, 1483 to 1485, and he had an intimate knowledge of this area. And basically everywhere you go is a reminder of the river. Of course, the River Trent was a great harbinger of food for people in medieval times. Just down there on the river, you can probably see in the distance there on the hills, that's the Trent Hills there, they found evidence on this side of the River Trent, the north side, of eel traps, medieval eel traps, basically facing downstream, and the eels of course come up to spawn and breed, and they'd go in one way, and then of course they'd close off the section, and they'd trap hundreds of eels. So these are obviously pebbles which have been washed over millions of years, and of course the ice ages that have come and go, and of course people that have come and go across the land bridge into Britain. But what I found so far, plum trees grow very well. Behind them there's very tall plants there are Jerusalem artichokes. Last year's were absolutely massacred with nematodes. This year, ring-fenced them with garlic either side. And onions, I've let those ones go to seed. They won't be up to much. Some of these are actually spring onions that are 2 years old. And this year, the rhubarb, if I get down to it, has been quite stringy. Not been a fantastic year for rhubarb. Good year for lavender though. It's been a good year for lavender. Definitely. And soft fruit, these always do well on the allotments here. Beetroot, nothing seems to like them. And I mean, as in pests, so they do okay. Although, as long as you don't get a fancy one like Goldens. These plants here, we've got blackcurrants, of course, a rich source of vitamin C, would have saved many a soul from scurvy had we known this in Britain. Luckily, eventually we learned our ways, and also didn't put toxic lead in our tins when we were finding a passage across the north. And with more potatoes, of course, I put shed loads of potatoes in. Rhubarb's been a bit stringy this year, have to say. Not been fantastic in 2014, but I've got some stashed away in the freezer. Raspberries, well, I put some up, and again I'm struggling to find many, but perhaps it's because the birds are fond of them. Blackberries, these are the ones I put in. I found these vigorous wild blackberries growing at home. I put them in, and there's going to be a massive crop of blackberries. So even if nothing else, when I come back, when the frosts are coming, I shall be able to just help myself to a couple of blackberries, and that'll make me feel much better. And I haven't picked the elderflower this year. I've left that for the wild creatures. So if you go look up there you go, there's some sloe berries. They'll ripen off nicely for the birds in the autumn. And this lovely little green thing here is a Kentish cob. And there's a filbert somewhere. These apparently can cross-pollinate across. They have catkins, of course, male and female parts. That's a filbert, and that will grow up, and that will then. There's another Kentish cob there. They seem to grow very well here on the river plain here, just north of the Trent. And looking back on the allotment here, see if we can pick out my. Oh, there we go. There I am, like Excalibur with my spade. So, all in all, not a bad year 2014, a drought year in June. We did have floods before that, making it sound a bit like Bad Moon Rising, but it's been enjoyable really. A good year for onions, a good year for soft fruit. I mean gooseberries, blackcurrants, red currant maybe. Not got any white currant down here. And certainly a good year for the potatoes. Not so many nematodes this year. And strawberries, lovely. Catch you later.